Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having a great day. We're going to take a look here at Bitcoin. I went ahead and updated the Fibonacci retracement levels just to the most recent lows and highs to essentially kind of get perspective on where we're at here. Okay, so just keep in mind, I've updated that just to kind of get this more micro movements and essentially help us understand that. We're also going to take a look, of course, at the back-end high block capital data. In fact, we can jump right into that right now and just make sure that we understand where we're at. Something that's interesting to me is there's a lot more longs being opened than shorts at this point. And that was likely once we hit that lower range, that $34,000 range, where the price action kind of bounced off that level. Because we have had, if you look at the price action, we've had about roughly 3 or 4 straight days of the price retesting and bouncing off 34,000. Okay, so it's important to recognize that is somewhat of a range that we're in. 34,000 might be the lowest part of the range tentatively. Okay, so again, some interesting stuff there. We also want to look at the backend data here too. Let's go ahead and quickly take perspective on the heat map and kind of see roughly where where our longs and shorts are leveraged at. We've got longs all over the place. It's like we got some early longs here at about 34,400, and then some late longs, so to speak, at 34.1, buying that dip, and essentially they're all in profit right now. So that's really good news for the long positions. See where the shorts are at here too. Shorts are, well, they're kind of in the middle, but for the most part, we got the largest amount at about 34,400. So 34.4 is a point of contention there. It's an area in which we see the most amount of positions being taken both long and short. So interesting to note that could be some liquidation levels there too. If we take a look here at, of course, liquidation heat map, this is an interesting thing here. In the last 7 days, let's go ahead and pull up some other exchanges as well and kind of take a look. If we look at this here, we can see we have a significant amount of liquidation at the 34,000 mark. So 33.9. As soon as we hit that trigger, we're going to see probably somewhat of a free fall. So as I mentioned before, I do think we're going to see somewhere in the range of 33,000 retested, and that would allow that to happen easier if the price hits that level and then drops from there. Because again, when you have a lot of liquidation at one area, a lot of positions are going to be closed, and there's going to be a lot less buying pressure, and then in turn, the shorts become very, very quick and easy to the downside. Okay? So again, that is an area to kind of pay attention to and just to note. So awesome stuff there in that regard. Just kind of some important things to kind of note on the back end there. Speaking of awesome too, just a quick little heads up, we did take some healthy profits here from our Solana short there at about 40%, hit 4 of our 5 targets there in 1 day, 8 hours. So awesome stuff there. Okay, now when it comes to our 4-hour time frame here, we're going to look at that here in just a moment. We're going to start with our daily, kind of just double check here. Okay, because again, the lowest point in which we've seen the price action so far is at 33,400 mark. So 33.4 is the lowest we've seen the price pull back to as soon as we broke past that 34,000 mark. Okay, in the last 4 days, we've seen actually last 5 trading days approximately, we've seen 4 out of 5 days where 34,000 is retested and rejected. Okay, that's a good sign. That's exactly why we have so much liquidation at that level, because they're starting to get more confident at that range, knowing that hey, the price may not get lower than this point, which is good. And again, if we take a look at the volume too, I mean, we've got a ton of volume. Approximately right here at the 34,400 mark. Big surprise, highest amount of volume, and we saw that on our liquidation levels too there, where we have the most amount of positions averaged out at that range. Okay, so that kind of speaks to that. So what that basically just tells us here is that even though we are overextended and the price is kind of relaxing here at this point, we are due for a potential movement here soon. Basically, if we take a look at Bollinger Bands on the daily, it's going to be pretty exaggerated, but if we look at it on the smaller time frames, we can see we're kind of starting to get that little collapse here. And as we saw here previously, when the price kind of squeezed here, we got this push up, and it could have pushed down too, right? So as we start to compress with these Bollinger Bands, we're going to start to see the price action want to move again. So we're right on the verge of seeing that happen. I'm speculating we're going to get some interesting movements this weekend, just based on Bitcoin's history. When Bitcoin does well on a Friday, which it's doing well so far, we have a tendency of dumping on Monday. Okay? So just be mindful. Bitcoin should go sideways this weekend, and then on Sunday, we will see Sunday night when the Eastern or Asian markets open, we'll see the price either jump up or jump down. Please be aware of that. Here's another reason why I think we might see the price come down too. If you take a look at CME futures, we can take a look, if we go into smaller time frames here, we can identify that we do have a CME gap that hasn't been filled yet. It's been partially filled, of course, about halfway, but if we see right here, the lowest point of that CME gap, 34,130. Okay? So when the price comes down to that 34,000 mark and breaks below, we will definitely be able to get that fill, and we'll see that happen. So just note that there is a CME gap there that still is yet to be filled, and I think that will be kind of the catalyst to push all those liquidations out of the way and for the price to kind of shoot towards that lower 33,000 range. So you got to understand too, though, big picture, I'm just looking at the analytics here. I'm not biased in one way or the other. I do personally feel, based on what I've seen here so far, we should experience the price action pulling back before it legs up again. It would make a lot more sense. So again, if it legs up right now, we're going to have a lot less longevity at those upper levels, and have, it's going to be less sufficient. Okay? If we pull back for a little bit, we can average our price down. We'll get this nice little bounce off this 31.5 mark, and it would be a perfect scenario for the price to leg up again. Okay? Not saying it won't happen, but I think the odds of the price pulling back is slightly higher than the price going up right now. Okay, so again, that's what the daily is telling us here. We also have strong convergences on the moving averages. Price action is shooting up. This is a very positive sign. We got the 50-day SMA intersecting essentially with the 200-day SMA. That's considered a golden cross. That gives us good certainty here, knowing we're on the right side of tracks. And again, I get the question too, like, hey, when we have that golden cross or death cross, whatever, is it just instantly going to shift direction? In all reality, no, it isn't. We saw this increase here mainly because of a lot of other factors, not because that just conversion at those prices switched over, if you will, right? It really just tells us that this is going to work as a magnet, and the price action will inevitably retest these levels. Okay? So again, just one of those things, it's a matter of time. And it's not bad nor good, it's just a positive sign in this case that we're on the right side of the tracks. Okay, so again, that's where the moving averages are. They're kind of trend lines, right? They're not like a definitive situation in which you want to take a position because of that. This is interesting here to me. We can see the price action dropping below 50, but picking back up above 50 on the RSI. It tells us we have a lot of support here again at the 34,200 mark, that low 34,000 range. So again, we break below 34,000, we'll be below 50 on the RSI, and that would be a potential situation where the price action should continue lower. Okay. So again, be careful in how you take your trades right now with Bitcoin. I'm kind of avoiding it altogether. I do have a short position open at 35,000, but once again, that's kind of a low position size with medium leverage, and I don't really feel super confident that it's going to, that I'm going to get liquidated, right? I feel like we're in pretty good shape. So again, different strokes for different folks, but I'm altogether mostly avoiding Bitcoin for the moment, just because it's kind of untrustworthy, if you will. Okay. Again, when we have these massive ramps up and the period of consolidation, the likelihood, the longer it stays in this range, the more likely we are to increase. You got to recognize that too. Like, as the price continues to stay sideways here, we are much more likely to increase. And if history repeats itself too, November is always a very strong month. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some green here from Bitcoin this month. It's going to be an absolute, almost a certainty. But it would make a lot more sense for the longs to get liquidated first before they push the price action up, just based on how the whales like to perform. It's a lot of manipulation, unfortunately. It's kind of the way the market works right now. So we're above. Let's talk about this a little bit here. It's kind of weird on the charts, but you can kind of see here the 50-day SMA, we're kind of above and below that. We dropped below and then ripped above. Now we're testing the 20-day SMA. So these are two indicators that are really kind of good of helping you understand, where we're at. And right now, with us kind of being in between both, it's not really a good sign to tell us that we want to go long or short. Until we close above or below today, I would say that we're going to want to wait and be patient. So I think patience is key right now. It's important to recognize that there's not a ton of proof here that the price is going to go in either direction. Again, most of what I've seen here so far, we're likely to go down. But again, you got to keep in mind, the longer we stay in this range, the more likely we are to further increase as well. Okay? So what's the summary here? Well, in truth, it's hard to say specifically what's going to happen next. I would say if you're going to consider a short position, that would be a slightly more probable win-loss ratio as far as potential is concerned. But I do feel like also it's a really tough place to be right now too, because we are tentatively losing this trend line, but we just jump back up above it too. So again, all the more reason to just kind of wait on the sidelines and kind of hesitate to take a position. I would recommend dollar cost averaging if you are a long-term position holder on this coin, which I've been doing every week. I just have an automatic buy position with my Coinbase, and it's just really kind of makes things easy, takes the guesswork out of it. Yes, it doesn't get you the best position or the best fills when you do those kind of things, but you don't have to worry about buying and selling and doing all that wonderful stuff. Sometimes just dollar cost average the way it's supposed to be. Okay. Again, take your mind out of the game if that is the case, but for right now, I do recommend waiting to trade this coin. It has a slightly larger propensity to drop than it would increase from here. But once more, bigger picture, the longer we stay in this range, the more likely we are to break up than down. Okay, because again, we keep retesting these higher highs, and as we continue to do that, more likely to break upwards. Okay, so that is the overall sense here. I know it's kind of a weird, strange, confusing place right now, but that's how it happens when you have these massive pumps that do not have fall back down immediately. The fact that we haven't pulled back immediately is a sign that it could very well continue. You could even argue that this is somewhat of a bull flag pattern. The price action is getting ready to break out once more, right? It works itself into a bit of a wedge or a channel, and then it continues to break upwards. So I do think that there is potential for that to occur, okay? So all the more reason to kind of wait on the sidelines for something to happen and buy the next dip if it were to happen, okay? I hope this made sense and I described this correctly. Thank you so much for watching. Again, you want to become a premium member, we do only have a few slots left available. Link down below, cryptocash.tech. I hope you have a great rest of the day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.